At the KSMO studios, it's 8:30, and it is Intercounty Tuesday. And that means Intercounty sends a representative to our station who sits down and entertains us with all kinds of fun stories and dances in our aisle. And no, maybe not.
You made that sound way more fun than what it's probably going to be.
What? Our interviews are always fun. What are you talking about,
I don't know
Heather?
if I'd call it entertainment.
Entertainment. That's
Okay.
what radio is. Entertainment. Come on, girl. Anyway, but nonetheless, thank you for coming
Yeah,
by.
absolutely.
And, of course, it's starting to feel like spring. Are you happier now?
I am happier now. Can't you, yeah, of course. How can you not be happier this time of year than winter?
Well, I mean, I get it. But, you kind of said today your son is
Yeah, this week he turned 16.
16.
That's scary for a mom.
They're getting closer to flying the coop.
I know. My daughter just finished her first year of college. That means I'm getting old, Steve.
Don't even say that. You're still a puppy. Anyway, nonetheless. Well, anyway, congratulations to
Thank
him.
you, yeah. And
I'm sure he's looking forward to his independence.
Freedom, as he said.
I'm Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer reference, independence. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't say it, you can't have it. Well, anyway, that's nonetheless very good. Well, anyway, congratulations to your youngest.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
I can say I never had that opportunity, so I never had one of my own, so just didn't.
It's a little terrifying.
I can understand the feelings, but I can't feel it because I didn't have my own. So.
Yeah. He's that kid could fish 24/7, so I know where he'll be. There's also not always great service when you're down at a river, so hence Mama's nervous.
There's a lot of areas in our neck of the woods that there's not great service.
You're absolutely right.
Or none whatsoever. But anyway, well, good. Well, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And it's graduation time, speaking of that. And I know
it is,
Bunker just graduated. Licky's going to be graduating soon. Salem has their...
They did Sunday.
They already did Sunday?
Yep,
okay.
they did Sunday.
So I didn't know what day they did that anyway. And Salem's is Friday night, so...
Okay.
Yeah. Time of year. It gets busy, busy, busy.
Congratulations to all those graduates. It's exciting.
It
a lot
is.
of our former youth tour kids graduating. We get to see their pictures. That's always kind of exciting to see what they've done. And a lot of times you'll see them in the papers in different places where they've accepted scholarships and they've got their plan for the next several years. And
do a lot of those kids reach back to you?
Occasionally, yeah.
Just
absolutely.
to kind of update you on what has happened with them, or just to say hi and thank you or whatever.
Yep, and there's a few things. So students that have gone to DC, they can apply. There's a special scholarship they can apply for. It's a national scholarship that NRECA has, but it's just for youth tour alumni, so they'll reach back out sometimes for that. Those kids, we talk about the program and how great it is, but they can go back 2 years after they've gone. So they can't go just the very next year, but 2 years after they've gone, they can go back out to DC and be kind of like a helper. There at the resort where they stay, we always have students that are there to kind of help coordinate, point kids in the right direction, make sure if they have questions or need help, they're there just to... They're helpers. So, yeah, they do a lot of times reach back out if they're interested in stuff like that.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that. You could have asked me to help.
They could have asked me to help. I would have went. Right?
I haven't gone. I didn't qualify for the first one, but I would sure be glad to go help. Anyway, but nonetheless, well, that sounds like a great thing. We like to, obviously know what happened to those kids as time goes on, and it's kind of cool if they reach back and just sit there. And you even told me, I think some of them are having kind of an alumni get together.
They
get together on Facebook now, and
so
kind of
social
plan
media
stuff.
has made it a lot easier for these kids to stay in touch. But our statewide organization, AMEC, they are actually beginning stages of putting together like an alumni sort of program, official alumni sort of program.
Okay.
So, kind of help them stay in touch and visit with each other and just have those contacts.
Right.
We talk a lot about contacts.
That's exactly right. So
and
I
that's
just gonna say
important. That's really important. So
You,
yeah.
you never know when you're going to need that person or what field they go in that might be absolutely a perfect complement to what you're doing.
That's right.
Very good. So, hey, well, we got to talk about today.
Well, while we're on Youth Tour, I just want to remind listeners that those top winners next month, it's crazy to think that next month is June, but they'll be going to DC next month. So we've got a couple that are a little nervous, never flown. They've had some questions about packing and suitcases and flying and hotel arrangements. And, there's some nerves there. And then there's always the parents that call in with even bigger nerves. What
I
is
get it.
security like? Is there a nurse or doctor on duty? Like lots of questions. So if you know one of those kids that won, encourage them to just kind of
Relax.
It is uncomfortable to step out of your
It's
comfort zone
nervous.
sometimes.
You
Yeah.
shouldn't say uncomfortable. It's just you've never been there. You don't know what to expect.
Right.
So you're nervous.
Right.
I don't know if I think uncomfortable. You should have a nervous excitement to
Yeah.
you,
Yeah,
not a
that's true.
nervous fear.
Right.
Maybe you got the flying if you've never flown before.
Yeah.
But once you get to DC and you open your eyes, the fear should be gone.
Yeah, just pure excitement at that
I
point.
mean, you
And-
should be sitting there going, I get to see this. You can pick
Right.
up a tour guide there with all the different museums in D.C. You couldn't get there in a year. You couldn't get to every
Yeah.
one of them in a year.
Yeah, we're going to pack in a lot. And that's what we tell the kids. They call and they're asking about where are we going to stay? And do I need to pack a swimsuit? Does the hotel have a pool? It's like, you barely get to sleep. You're not hanging out in your room. We're not hanging out at the hotel. We're coming in late. We're leaving early. So lots of excitement there. And that is next month. So.
It is a full schedule,
It
but
is,
it's
yeah.
well worth the kids' trip. And
Yep.
I wish them the very best. But
Me
yes,
too.
there's nothing to really be afraid of. The fear of flying, there are people that just are.
Yeah. It's something
I don't
new.
like heights, but
Yeah.
once I get up there, I love looking down and identifying where I am from the roads or from the fields or from different, we'll say, items of interest.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously an arch, you're in St. Louis, but
Right.
if you're flying like over Indianapolis, you see the Speedway, you get different things of that nature. So
Yeah.
you're like, I know where we are. you
Yeah.
know?
Huh.
So that's kind of pretty cool stuff.
Yeah, we're excited for him. Next month being June is also a big month for Intercounty, unless you've been under a rock your entire life. I know what goes on in June at Intercounty. I have no idea.
Free electric for everybody?
Oh, well, now you're going to get something started. I'm going to come back and be in
So
trouble.
that's not it.
That's not it. No,
Okay.
I don't know that that's ever been
It
in
never
Stan.
has, but I thought, wow, what
You
new
just
news
throw it
that
out
would
there.
be.
That's Stan's idea for the
No,
day.
no. Annual meeting, I believe, is coming up.
Absolutely. Annual meeting. So it is crazy to think that next month is June, next month's annual meeting. That's a big month for the co-op. As you're aware, we're a co-op. We're different than your investor-owned or your city, your municipalities. We have an annual business meeting, and we try to make it fun and enjoyable. A lot of people call it the Intercounty Picnic.
Picnic
But
works.
it is at the heart of it. It is a business meeting, and
Well,
it
sure.
is something that we're required in our bylaws to have. We are owned by the members that we serve, and they get to come to our annual meeting, and they get to vote on directors who
Mm-hmm.
represent them, and they get to vote on any proposed bylaw changes. So we hope it's a fun day. We hope it's enjoyable, and they get to visit with friends that maybe they haven't seen, but at the heart of it, it is a business meeting, and
Sure.
and there's business that takes place. So, several things this year that are kind of different, if you will. Last year, if you recall, we had some trouble with the Rural Missouri magazines and mailing.
Oh, yeah.
So,
About that last minute kind of stuff.
yes, and we talk about voting, and it is up to our members to vote. And our annual meeting, it's the last Friday in June. It's Friday, June 27th.
And that wasn't the case last year.
I know. They threw us off. I don't know what the deal was.
Yeah.
But it is back to the last Friday in June, Friday, June 27th. It's going to be at Licking at the Old City Park down by the rodeo grounds. We realize on a Friday morning there are people who cannot be there. We want to make sure that it's easy for them to still participate and vote. Several years ago, we even changed, if you vote by mail, you're still entered for those electric credit drawings. So we want people to be involved. We want them we want them
You want
to
them
vote.
to vote.
It's their co-op.
That's
So
right.
those ballots are mailed in the June Rural Missouri magazine. So be watching for that. We're hoping it hits mailboxes June 2nd or 3rd, that Monday or Tuesday, first Monday or Tuesday of June.
You're not very confident of that.
I said we're hoping. I said we're hoping.
I know. I see in your face, and I heard a report last night how post office is now average time of delivery is 10 days.
That's not good. Don't say
10
that.
days.
Don't say that, Stan.
Well, isn't that crazy? 10
It is.
days.
Yeah.
They want you to get your letter posted 10 days before,
before.
it needs to be due.
Well,
You don't even get bills 10 days before they're due.
that's true. A lot of them.
And you
yeah.
get them, and then you're telling me I got to have this paid tomorrow.
Yesterday.
Well, that has happened to me.
Yeah.
I have gotten bills where I had to have it paid by yesterday.
Yeah. Well, we're hopeful that early that first week of June that they'll arrive in member mailboxes. The last several years, it's going to be very similar. That back page, you can tear that off. It's going to be perforated. There's a ballot and a registration card, and those are hopefully very easily identified. We tell you this is your registration card, this is your ballot, here's the instructions on how to vote, and then inside will be that envelope that's kind of tucked in the middle fold. You'll be able to pull that out and mark your vote for a director in each district. That's important because sometimes we get the question, I live in the Central District, so does that mean I only vote for Central?
All three.
You can vote for all three. This year...
You don't have to vote for all three.
You don't have to, but you can.
You should, though.
You should, yep. And there's director bios in the magazine, so you can read about the candidates that are running. This year, it's an uncontested race. All three directors are seeking re-election, and we didn't have anyone contact the co-op that they were interested in serving. So
Makes it a little easier.
makes it really easy. It also, what we're hoping it doesn't make it is
Complacent.
people feel like they don't need to vote, because this year we do have
You
two.
have a couple things on there to
We
vote
do.
on. Yeah.
Yep. We have two proposed bylaw changes, and one of those does have to do with voting. So I was talking about last year, we had a little bit of trouble. Some members didn't get their magazine in a timely fashion. So something we were able to do this year. So the way our bylaws read right now, they allow for electronic voting. The interpretation by our attorney and by our board, that is different than online. So this year we're going to have iPads in the 3 district offices the week of annual meeting. So if you can't join us, you don't want to vote by mail, maybe you get your magazine late, whatever it might be, you can come into the office that Monday through Thursday of annual meeting week, and you can come in and they're going to register you just like you were at annual meeting. So bring that back page in with you, because that registration card has a barcode. They'll scan that barcode. They'll get you checked in or registered, if you will, for the meeting. Then there's an iPad. You'll get to mark your vote. And then our election tellers that Friday, when they are tallying votes, they're adding the mail-in votes to the votes that were cast that day, and then they'll add the votes that were cast during the week.
The early voting period,
Early
just like
voting.
it is with elections nowadays.
Yeah.
Yes,
So electronic voting, that is our board's interpretation of electronic voting. We would like to be able to offer online voting. At this point, we haven't put a whole lot of work into what that would exactly look like, because that has to be approved by our members. It is a bylaw change. So that's the first one. We're asking you to
allow it.
support that first bylaw change,
Yeah,
which will allow
just to allow it.
Right. And if it does, then likely I think our two only options really, it'll either be through Smart Hub. When you log into your account portal, you'll be able to vote, or it could possibly be an email where there's a link to a secure voting
Kind of like
site.
a proxy vote thing, where if you have any investments in stocks, you get a little thing with a little barcode in, or not barcode, you get a little number code, and you plug that in, then you can vote, and each member would have their own
Right. So
number.
I would expect it'll be one of those two ways. But until that bylaw change is approved by our members, there's not going to be a lot of time spent researching how we're going to do that.
Sure.
But that's the first one. So we would appreciate your support on that. And then next year, hopefully, we would be able to sit here and say, hey, here's an extra way this year you can vote. The second bylaw change that's proposed, it's a little bit more in-depth, a little bit more explanation behind that, but it has to do with unclaimed capital credits. So,
They all go to me.
no, that one would probably not pass because I think there would be one yes vote for that and the rest no.
There might be two.
You might be able to talk somebody else into it. But it does have to do with unclaimed capital credits. And a couple of things I want to point out. First of all, is that we are not changing the process of how those are retired or how long we keep them, who can claim those. That all stays the same. So right now, when we pay out a capital credit, if we do not have a good address, that stays in the office or it comes back to the office. And then we hold that for 2 years. At the 2-year mark, and what will be in next month's magazine are the capital credit checks that we tried to send out in 2023. And they're still unclaimed. We still have not heard from those members. So we published this huge list.
It's very fine print.
It's 16 pages in the center of our magazine next month. So you will see exactly how.
I highly recommend you go online to look at that so you can blow it up.
Right. So
Unless you got really good glasses.
or magnifying glass or
A
something.
big magnifying glass,
Yeah.
man.
But those they're going to be listed alphabetically, so you can search for. I mean, if you're a current member, chances are you're not going to be on that list.
If
But
you had family that was part of Intercounty in the 2000s or maybe even 1990s, you might have something.
might
there.
have some checks. So, couple of things that this does. Our bylaws right now require that we publish that in a newspaper of general circulation. That is a costly thing for the co-op to do, and
That's really fine print.
yeah, and we would like to be able to publish it online and in our magazine and not have that requirement to spend the extra money, our members' money, on publishing that.
And there's not
in
many
newspapers as
newspapers
well.
around anyway.
So the first part of that is that we would be able to publish that online, keep it in our Rural Missouri magazine. Cost is reasonable there. The second part of that, and it's the most exciting part for me, is that those unclaimed capital credits after 2 years, so they're still available for 2 years. We'll still publish the list, kind of a last call. Family members of deceased family that were prior members of Intercounty, they can still claim those. None of that changes. But after 2 years, when those expire, instead of going back into the general capital credit pot, if you will, those would go into a new fund that would be set up through our Intercounty's Charitable and Educational Foundation, which is Roundup. We'd have a new account set up in there, and that money would be used to pump back out into the communities. It would be used to fund, most excitingly, as far as I'm concerned, a new scholarship program for high schoolers. That's something our board for years and years, they've wanted to do. It's tough when you're
Just to know how to fund it.
Right, and it's tough when you're a co-op because our rates fund our budget. And there's a line there where you want to support the communities, you want to support these kids. How do you ask members to pay a higher rate to fund a scholarship program when there's so many other rate pressures? We've talked about increasing costs.
Oh my gosh,
and so it's been one of those things they'd love to do, but how do you justify doing that at the expense? So if this passes, then this is money essentially that comes from the community. It's unclaimed monies from our community members, and we would be able to filter that into a scholarship program that would then still support our communities, but it would not impact our rates at all.
It can earn interest, and then that
Yeah,
way it can
absolutely.
continue to grow on its own
Absolutely.
as much as possible.
Right. We would be able to increase support to these 4-H and FFA kids at the livestock auctions. There's a ton of things in our local communities that we would be able to support with no pressure on our member rates. And essentially, it's taking member money from the community, it's putting it back into the communities, helping that community growth.
Got my vote.
I think it's a fantastic way that the co-op's going to be able to give back, and not, like I said, and not have any pressure on those rates. So that's an exciting one. It is a little bit more complicated to explain rather than just, hey, we want to allow online voting. Vote yes. It takes a little bit more, but
Yes.
I would encourage you, if you get your magazine, and this month we had some information in there too, but if you get your magazine next month and you're trying to decide how you're going to vote on those, if you have any questions, just call our office.
'Cause sometimes the verbiage can be confusing.
Right. And next month, what's going to be in there, we're going to have the legal, this is how the bylaws are written. This is how they would change if this passes. And sometimes reading through a paragraph where stuff is struck through and additions are made, it can get kind of confusing on should I vote yes or no, and what does a yes or a no vote mean. We will have explanation kind of in layman's terms of what both of those, a yes or a no vote. But like I said, give us a call, ask whatever questions you might have, and we'll get those answered for you.
Sounds like a heck of an idea. I really do
Yeah.
think that's a fantastic way of taking those funds that on an individual basis, we know a lot of times those capital credits aren't a lot of money.
Right,
And after 20 years,
right.
really not a lot of money.
Yeah.
But if they're going to sit there, if they're going to get absorbed back into intercounty some way, that sounds more like a way that I think if I wanted my capital credits to go, I would like it to go there.
Right.
Help somebody in the future. I may no longer be around. Maybe not in the state, maybe not even in the country anymore, or maybe not even alive anymore, but whatever the
Right.
case might be. But those capital credits can then do some good
Right.
for those youngsters who are coming up and trying to
Yeah.
get their place in the world. So,
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's a good idea. Very good. And that will all be available. In the June Rural Magazine, you're going to get the verbiage, the actual
Yeah.
legal verbiage where people can read it. Sometimes I wonder if attorneys ever practice Latin, because it's like
They
doctor
might.
stuff. That you think,
They might.
where do you get this? Where is, how to, why?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. And
But-
I mean, it's just,
I know.
you've got to, but
It's legalese.
it is. And that's what this first proposed bylaw change, electronic. Does electronic mean online or not? Should online be listed separately?
No, as a matter of fact, electronic does not mean online.
Right. And that's why that proposed bylaw
Electronic
change.
means on a tablet or on a computer or on
Electronic
something of that nature.
device.
But that is a closed network because it cannot be open
Yeah.
to where people can hack into it. So that's the idea behind the electronic voting.
Yeah.
So yeah, and they're trying to even get changes nationally to try and do that on your computer, laptop, or even phone. And I'm thinking, I see a lot of problems with all that because anybody can take your phone and vote.
Yeah.
That's not you.
Yeah.
If I've got to go take a driver's license or identify myself at a voting poll, why would I be allowed to do it on my phone? When, even face recognition, they can point it to your face and then take your phone and
And vote.
vote. So I see a lot of issues. I don't know how they're going to do that one, but anyway, that's not
Yeah.
my problem.
Yeah.
That's
Stance
going to
is
be
not my
somebody
job.
else's issue. I still truly believe people should go vote in person if at all possible. I know there's some people who are disabled, can't do it, or maybe in a nursing home, it's just literally cannot get out.
Right.
There are still the mail-out ballots and stuff that you
Right.
can do, and they have to be notarized that you actually voted. So somebody has to watch you vote,
Right.
which that's why it makes that official. You can't see that electronically on a phone or a tablet. I can't
Yeah.
do that. I would have an issue with that. But as far as what Intercounty is doing, like you said, if you go through Smart Hub, that's your account. Mm-hmm. So you'd have to log in, so you'd have protection there.
Right.
And that might be a way that they could allow that kind of electronic voting online,
Right.
because you have to use some kind of identifier to get in.
And the key here is we're not taking away any of the methods of voting. You'll still, as far as I've heard, we will still be mailing those ballots in the Rural Missouri Magazine. We will still have day of voting. I think this year having voting in the offices is going to, it's essentially started a new option.
Sure.
I foresee that we'll have that available going forward.
So I have questions, though. So if I vote early, do I still have the opportunity to win electric credits?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Same as voting by mail. And if, we try to think about questions that members might have and potentials for how is this going to affect day of. If you come in the office and vote in person because you're not sure if you can come to annual meeting or not, you can still come day of. You won't be able to go through the line to register to vote because when we
You already
pull
voted.
you up, we're going to show that you already registered in Rolla office or Mountain Grove office or wherever on what day. But you can still get your goodie bag. You can still have lunch. You can still sit and
go through the
enjoy
health
the
fair, you can
entertainment.
still do that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
You'll still be able to come. Just if you've already voted prior, you won't be eligible to vote day of. But other than that, you could still enjoy everything else the day of.
Then it really is a picnic.
It is, yeah.
It really will.
Yogi Bear there.
Absolutely. Right,
Yeah.
Yogi?
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm like.
But it has some fun with that. But the important part of the annual meeting is the voting.
Right.
Is the directors, but directors are unopposed, so that makes that easy. But these two issues are very important. And they're very important because they're trying to get the bylaws not only accurate, but up to date.
Right. And it does take a vote of our membership.
Sure.
So we need people to vote, to be able to tell us, yes, that is a direction we want the co-op to go, or no, actually, that's not something I think the co-op should be doing. And that's your right as a member to be able to make those decisions.
Sure.
When it comes to changing cooperative bylaws, it's their co-op. So they get to decide that.
Well said, Heather.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah.
Very good. Anyway, I really like that option for putting the money back in the community through the foundation, because that really is a good idea to do with those little bits. And we always talk about Operation Roundup. What are you going to do with that 25 cents every
Right.
month? What are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you put it with another 20,000 people,
It
you
does
can do a
start to
lot
add
with
up.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Certainly can.
And you can help out your neighbors that you may not even know need help. And that's great. Because we all have gone through a period where you feel like you're just being swallowed up by the earth. And you just need somebody to give you a helping hand. And this is Operation Roundup has, I know 3 people who have got it.
Yeah.
And all 3 well deserved.
Yeah.
Getting that money, it really helped get them out of a hole.
Yeah. It is a fantastic program. And that would be sort of the umbrella organization, if you will, for those unclaimed capital credits. But it would be completely separate,
Sure,
separate
sure.
accounting. The unclaimed credits are not going to go into that Roundup fund that's used on those applications. That's
Right.
still going to be funded by members that are rounding their bill up. But
Under the foundation
under-
umbrella.
Yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
But the way that they go about doing it is very professional.
it is.
And then I'm sure they're going to use the same care and consideration in the scholarships and other local events that they want to invest into.
Right. And just remember, your co-op, we are under federal guidelines, state guidelines, RUS, Rural Utility Services, their guidelines. The money is not just kind of here, there, and everywhere. It is accounted for. We're audited.
It's encumbered.
This month, actually, we're having an additional audit. So we have our annual audit, but we're having an additional one this year that's over the past 10 years. So we have some representatives there at the co-op this week, and they're going through
A lot of paperwork.
a lot of paperwork, a lot of records. And so, when we talk about this money not going back into that unclaimed or the capital credit pot, if you will, and going into this new fund, you can rest assured. Like if our members vote and they pass this, it's got its own accounting system. It's going to be audited. It's going to be looked at every month by our board directors and then annually by outside accounting firms. So the money, the accountability for that is there. You don't have to worry about anything like that.
And when we mention the word encumbered, like we're mentioning with Roundup, that 25 cents or 48 cents or whatever it is every month you have goes into that Roundup fund, and it can only be used for that purpose of assisting people. That's it. Can't be used for anything
Right.
else. Intercounty can't say, well, I need to go buy a new engine for my truck, and we need the help, so we're going to take it
Yeah.
out of Roundup. It doesn't work that way.
No.
When we say encumbered, and a lot of funds for, we'll call it not-for-profit accounting, and I'm just trying to make it simple, are encumbered. Like if you pass away and you say, I want to leave $100,000 to the cemetery of my choice, so we'll just call it North Lawn Cemetery for imminent care. Well, you can do that, and that was used for the care of that cemetery. That's all it can be used for.
Right. It's designated.
It's designated for a purpose.
Right. Yeah.
And that is all it can be used for. And no matter what, the only way that can be released is by a judge. So if, like, for example, the cemetery was no longer there,
Right.
and those funds are there, then they can be released and it can go back into some other, maybe they're moving a cemetery, or maybe there's something different, or maybe they're closing the cemetery. Maybe they don't have enough funds, and even though the funds you have there are to be used for its care, it's
Yeah.
not going to be a legal cemetery anymore, or whatever. I don't know. There's a lot of different things, but I do know that to move an encumbrance, and
Takes a
sometimes
judge.
people have encumbered money for over 200 years.
Oh, wow. Holy cow.
I mean, it's there. It just keeps getting the interest. It just grows and grows and grows, but it can only be used for one purpose. We all know with today's world and the technology and things that have changed, that may not exist anymore.
Right.
So to go there, you have to take it to the courts, and they will have to unencumber the funds to be used for something of a similar purpose.
Right.
So, anyway.
It's interesting.
So, but I don't think it's going to happen with Roundup because it's pretty well dictated exactly what it's going to do.
Right.
And it does help out your neighbors, and it's just a great program. I know they meet today.
They do, yes.
We are very fortunate. I know you're not involved with that as much as you used to be, and you really used to like going to those Roundup meetings. Didn't you?
Roundup's it's an incredible program. It's to be a part of that was a huge blessing, and it's very humbling, and it makes you realize how amazing our members are. We talk about our co-op members, and they are incredible. They want to help. They want to give back. And we talk about, a couple of quarters a month, not a whole lot you or I could do with them, but they realize the power of putting it together with everybody else's, and they round their bill up every month, and that money goes there. And I do think that speaks volumes about our members.
It does.
Yeah.
It really does. You can take that off your taxes, by the way. It does show
can.
up on your bill at the end of the year. Your last, basically January bill, I think it is. It shows your total contributions for the previous year. And that is tax deductible. You can
It
give
is.
that to your accountant and circle it. And that can
Yeah.
be used as a tax deduction. It's not usually very much. Most of it's going to be, the most you'll ever have is $12.
Right.
That's it. And that's only if you do levelized billing.
Right. If you're unlevelized and it's already an even amount, then it rounds up a full $1. But I think mine was just under $8. It was like $7.60.
2 years ago, it was
something.
$6.83. I think this past year was $7 and
Yeah.
something. But
Yep.
it's usually, I think 1 year I had 9.
Yeah. And that's probably on the high end.
That is
of
probably
what-
on the high
yeah.
end. That's seemed like every month was round up 69 to 73 cents. Every time I'm like, my gosh, look at all that money I'm giving away.
And look at all the good that it did.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things we haven't talked about in a long time is how you can pay your bills. We really do really appreciate the Roundup program and those people who do Roundup. So before we do that, I want to talk about paying your bills. If you are not rounding up your bill, it's not very hard to sign up.
No.
Matter of fact, it's on your little card that you get from Intercounty. There's a little box on the front. You can just check it.
Yeah. All you got to do is check the box.
And then when
or
you
X
send
the
your
box.
payment in, you'll give it a month probably, but you'll automatically be signed up for Roundup, and then sooner or later your bill's going to be coming out to an even number. It's easy.
Easy to put in your
Easy.
register.
Easy. So you can do it that way. You can also do it through Smart Hub. You can call Intercounty. You can email them
Right.
and just say, hey, I'd like to be a member of Roundup. My account number is this, and this. And they can get it done, or a simple phone call.
Yeah.
Really makes it easy.
Yeah.
Now let's go to the other ways
Okay.
of payment. So we all know that we can mail in our payment, but that's getting a little bit risky now.
It is. We don't have near as many payments mailed in as what
Well,
we
you
used
might
to.
have. You just haven't gotten the mail yet.
Hopefully that's not the case.
I know. I'm joshing there.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the mail is getting slower and slower and slower. You can't feel very confident that your payment is going to get there on time.
Right. So
But you can still do it.
you can, yep. And we still do have members every month that mail in their payments. We do go by the postmark date, but if you get a disconnect notice, be sure to call us and let us know because, as Dan mentioned, it might take longer than what it has in the past. But mailing in your payment is always an option. The majority of our members, though, are paying online through Smart Hub. And that has really become the most popular way to pay your bill is to log into that Smart Hub app or log into Smart Hub on your computer. There's even that Pay Now feature on our website. So if you don't want to set up an account, you can use Pay Now and you just have to know, I think it's the last name on the account and the account number, I believe. And then it's a one-time payment. It doesn't store any information. You can't
Right.
see any account information. It's just making that payment and giving you a payment confirmation. Automated payments, so like through bank draft or a recurring credit card, that's probably our second most used payment method to second to Smart Hub. But that is really convenient. You just set it up. It automatically drafts. And then
That's
you
it.
like you don't have to make any effort unless
No.
you get a new debit card or your
Well, right.
credit
You have to
card.
update your credit card.
You got to
if
update
you have an
that.
expiration date or debit card.
Right. So other than that, there's not a whole lot.
If you do have it drawn out of your account, though, make sure you have money in your
Yeah,
account.
make sure. It's important.
It kind of helps. You don't like to pay that extra $25 or something if it's not there.
If it's not there.
Because
Yeah.
they will take the payment out. Then they won't make payments after that if it's in the red.
Yeah.
Oops.
But those are our two most popular payment methods. We still have members that come into our offices to make payments. We have night drops at all locations, so if it's after business hours. We have drive-up windows at Mountain Grove and Rolla. In Licking, we have like a drive-up box. Our office isn't set up to where there's actually a drive-up window, but you can...
Well, the building wasn't built to access the drive-up.
No, it was not. But there is a box in that west parking lot at Licking you can pull in, and if you can't get out of your car, you can drop that in, and that's checked every day, and those payments recorded. There's also a pay-by-phone line, so a separate automated telephone line you can call. You can make your payment over the phone. That we're seeing an increased number of people using that as a payment method too.
And you can make that payment up till
can.
11:59 the day it's due.
That's crunching it, but
hey,
Stan speaks from experience.
Hey, trust me, I have done that.
Yeah. It's nice to have that
I
option.
haven't done it by phone yet, but I did do it by internet from my Smart Hub.
Okay.
Where I forgot. I didn't know if I paid my bill. It was the day bill was due. And
in the evening.
Late in the evening, as a
Yeah.
matter of fact, like 10 o'clock. And I'm like, whoa, glad I looked.
Yeah.
And, it was paid. It was not paid, so I paid it right there. But had
Yeah.
I not looked,
Yeah.
I would have been late.
Yeah.
Because I did not have it set up on automatic. So, you can do that. Especially if you're traveling a lot, automatic's not a bad way to go. It really is a pretty easy way to do it.
Yeah. And a lot of our members who have their account set up on levelized billing, which we've talked about a few times here recently. But levelized billing is where after you've been in a location for a year, we can figure out what your monthly average is, and we set you at that amount for the next 12 months. There's a lot of members who pair those two programs together, the levelized billing and the bank draft, which is really convenient, especially if you're someone that travels a lot. It's always going to be the same amount,
Right.
and it's always going to be drafted out for you. So it really takes a thought out of that process.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to worry if you're gone somewhere for 3 weeks. You don't have to worry about those bills being paid for your electric service. It's already done. And a nice thing too is when you do that, we'll just say levelized billing as you look at it on an annual basis, as Intercounty does, based upon your previous year's purchases of electric. You know, you're going to hit a plateau there that you're either going to exceed the next year or you're going to fall below the next year. It could be either one.
Right.
Really all depends on your usage and what happens. Here's the neat thing about that, though. That whole year, you know exactly what your electric bill is going to be every month. $68 or $72 or $105 every month. Now, again, when you get to the end, you're going to have to make up that difference. But here's the cool thing about that. For 11 months, you rest assured you don't have a problem.
Right. And on that 13th month, when it recalculates, say, well, hopefully if you've made a major change in your home, you reach out to us. So let's say you had gas heat and you put in an electric furnace. If you make a big change like that, please reach out and let us know, because
call us that day.
we don't want to keep you at that lower amount, and then at the end of your levelized billing period, you just be so far behind.
Sure.
But even if that does happen, we don't make you pay what has built up all at once. And if you have a credit, we're not going to send you a check for that. What we do is we figure out what your average is, again, what your new average, and then we take either that balance that is built up or that credit that you have, we divide that by 12, and then either add or subtract that.
Or add to your bill.
Yeah.
And the neat thing about that is, and we talk about that, those adjustments is that what Heather is saying, take to heart, not just a new air conditioner, but if you're going to put a pool in,
right,
and all of a sudden your bill was $140 a month, and you've got that pool running hot from May all the way through October now, it seems.
Yeah.
That those pools are going for a long time. That bill's going to go up, and it's going to go up substantially, depending upon, first off, the temperatures. Because the air conditioning and pools, you're going to use more of your pool. You're going to have more water evaporation. You're going to have to add more water, and then that means it's cooler. So the pool, especially if you have a heated pool, which unbelievable. But I know some people who do.
Yeah, that would add usage.
That's going to add a lot more. So again, every little thing that doesn't sound big maybe on the surface,
right?
It can really make some major effects to your electric bill. You know, years ago we used to talk about floodlights and spotlights.
Right.
You know, how that used to change. Remember?
And it could,
You remember those days?
Yeah.
Those floodlights and spotlights used to just suck the money right out of your pocket.
Spinning.
But, you know, they've changed all those to LEDs and different types of lighting that don't affect your bill that much. But still, you still have some guzzlers of energy out there. Air conditioners do it. Pool pumps really do it.
Yeah, they really
do. And then you got the kids outside. If you want now spotlights and floodlights for the kids to play outside, you get them, but they're not using much electric at all.
Not like they used to. Yeah. Yep.
So a lot of good stuff there. A lot of different ways to pay. And if you have any questions about any of those methods, or maybe you've heard something in there you're not quite sure that might have confused you, or maybe you have another method in mind that you'd like to bring up to Intercounty's attention.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're always open to new ideas. I've given them new ideas for at least 30 years.
Yeah, we don't always listen to all of them.
I think my one was the little thing at the annual picnic.
The magnet?
Yeah, that was my one suggestion.
Yeah, we did it.
To put it out there. Yeah, unfortunately, you put it out there, and then they
changed the number. But we got new ones.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty quickly after the phone number changed.
Yeah, you told me about that.
I'm like, you had the idea a month early. You should have.
I had the idea long before that, but then when you guys got it done, then you changed your
pay by phone number.
It was too late. So anyway.
Yeah.
Ooh, well. But it was a good idea, nonetheless. We had a lot of fun with it. All right, but again, what's the number at Intercounty if somebody'd like to call, find out more about Roundup or about how ways to pay their bills, how they can do it, the most efficient way that they can do it, because as I mentioned, right now a lot of people are coming back to Missouri.
Right.
You know, the
Winter's
snowbirds
over.
are done, and they're coming back to Missouri. And they may need to reset up their account or may need to reevaluate their accounts, or maybe they have some remodeling to do their home, it's going to end up costing them more money or adding to their home. You get to just call this number. This number can work wonders.
It can. So our toll-free number is 866-621-3679. And whatever you need, if you call that number, we'll connect you to the right department or the right person when you call in.
There you go. Now, if you want to pay that bill straight, I mean straight through, just got to give this phone number a call, and you just start punching in numbers.
Yep. So our automated pay-by-phone line is 855-940-3890.
And we always remind you, Smart Hub is such a great asset.
It is.
Use it. It's easy to use. It tracks your usage. And I'll tell you what, you can do a lot with that. If you want to sit there and play with it for about half an hour, you can. And just see, you can go back a couple years and say, okay, well, man, I used that much electric 2 years ago. I'm using half that now.
What
Why?
changed? Yeah.
Yeah, or
Opposite.
maybe the opposite's
Yeah.
happening, and maybe you had to drill a new well or something that you
Yeah.
forgot about. You had to put that on. So
Yeah.
anyway, a lot of different things. So it's an easy tool, but also on your Smart Hub, you can go back and look at those old Missouri magazine, those rural Missouri magazines. That's right there on the Intercounty site. You can get that. You can do a lot of different tips. Safety tips are there. There's a lot of information. A tremendous amount of information. A plethora of information, if you might add. But it's all there, and it's handy. And if you've got the time,
Yeah.
sit down and I would highly recommend taking about an hour and going through the site to see what's all on there. You'd be amazed how many different things are available about your electric usage that you probably didn't even know.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's nice. One of the tools that we get the most compliments on that people appreciate having are where you can overlay graphs. So a lot of people are visual, and if they can see their usage over the past 12 months on a graph, then they can overlay average weather data over that. You can really see, depending on what type of heating and cooling you have in your home, you can see that correlation. And that especially helps. Maybe you're looking at, instead of a 12-month period, you're only looking at the last month. And so you can look at daily usage over the last 30 days and overlay that with the weather data. It helps you identify, is my usage weather related, or what is this day, something changed, and
That
people
day threw a big party.
Maybe that's the day that the heating and cooling system started having problems, or maybe that's the day that you notice you were running out of hot water, and so you've got an element that's
anything. You never know.
Yeah.
Now, one of the methods of payment that I didn't mention, and I don't think you did either, is prepaying.
Oh yeah. So prepay is more like you can still pay through all those different methods if you're on prepay, but prepay is sort of like a different billing option. So traditional billing is you use your electricity throughout the month, then we're going to calculate your usage, and we're going to mail you a bill, and you have, if you're on cycle 1, you get your bill around the 1st and it's due on the 15th. If you're on cycle 2, you get it around the 8th and it's due the 22nd. So that's traditional billing. You use, and then you're billed for it, and then you make the payment for the full amount that you use that month.
Intercounty is issuing you credit, so you are paying off your bill
Right.
after the fact, after the usage.
Right,
That's
but
not the way with prepaid.
Prepay it's the opposite of that. So prepay, we explain it, it's sort of like putting gasoline in your vehicle, and Smart Hub is a really great tool as far as your fuel gauge, if you will. So you put what you want to put on it, whether you
Let's
put
say $100.
put $100 on it. So
Keep things easy.
yeah. So then as you use electricity, that number, your balance, decreases. And if you have Smart Hub, and that's really what we encourage prepay members to have, that app. But you can also call that automated line, that payment line that I gave you, the 855 number. That you can call and just do a balance inquiry. So we have prepay members that use that periodically too. But you watch as that balance goes down as you use electric, and then it's your responsibility before it gets to zero, you put more on it. So you're prepaying that, you're using it, you're watching that balance. Just like your car, you got to make sure you get to the gas station before you
Run out of gas.
run out of gas, and it's very similar with electricity that way. But it's a great option for several different groups of people. If you're new to the area and you're moving in, a lot of times you have first and last month's rent. You have the deposit on this, the deposit on that. Electricity is the same way. If you're setting up an account, there is a deposit. And it's nice to have that prepay option, because if you go with prepay, there's not a deposit.
Right. You're paying it up front.
You're paying it up front. So there's no need for Intercounty to have a security deposit sitting there. So prepay is a really great option if that's the situation you're in. We've had members who have wanted to save. They've wanted to be more conscious of the electricity that they're using. They have switched to prepay because it sort of forces them to monitor it more on a daily basis than if they just wait for the bill to show up and then they're like, oh, wow, man, that bumping that thermostat a couple degrees really did make a difference. If they're on prepay, they're much more aware of what they're using and how their choices
on a
impact.
daily basis.
Yeah. So we've had members that have said, hey, I want to save, and I know this will force me to pay more attention to it, switch me to prepay. So they've switched to prepay, and they've learned things they can do, little changes they can make that do add up and make a difference.
You bet. There's
Yeah.
a lot of different things out there. We always talk about how we can save money. We talk about the phantom electric. We call them vampires usually. But,
Yeah.
And there's so many of them out there, and people think, I don't have any of those. Well, I hate to tell you, but I could probably go to your house right now and find 10
Yeah.
without you even knowing it. And you're going to tell me it doesn't exist. Well, yeah, it does. You got a charger for your phone. Okay, I'm sure you do.
Phantom load.
And you plug it in, and you take your phone and you charge it, and then you unplug your phone and take it with you, but you leave your power source in to charge that phone. That's a vampire.
Right. There's
It's
a trickle
sucking the
charge
electric.
there.
How about the little clock on your microwave or your coffee machine, and it's on?
Or your
it's going.
DVR.
DVR. Your power strips.
Yeah. Your gaming consoles.
I mean, and now, even your garage door openers that have readings, because you want to see somebody who enters and your new garage door has a camera. Guess what? All of that is on all the time, 24/7. You got a ring that's electric on your doorbell. That's on all the time. Now, if you have it on battery power, that's a different story. You charge your batteries. You plug it in, put that in there. So maybe you do, maybe you don't. Even your doorbell, in many instances, is charged with a transformer that comes off an electric plug that you don't even know.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them, but overall, they make up maybe 1 or 2% of your bill, maybe.
Yeah. Depending on what you have.
Right now, so if you have a gaming console that you leave on 24/7, that might be about 20% of your bill, especially because if the kids use it all the time and they're constantly updating. It's a lot. And if you even have a smart TV now, they're constantly updating and they're on all the time. So even if you don't have we'll even say a multi-plug that's plugged in, you have it plugged straight in your wall, and you're thinking, I shut my TV off, it's off. Nah.
Yeah.
It's
If
not.
it comes right on when you turn it on, it's on standby.
Well, and the thing is, I had a TV that kind of just dudded out on me, and I replaced it with a new smart TV. Well, that smart TV stays on 24/7. It won't tell you it is, but it's doing updates in the back all the time. And even when you turn it on, sometimes it's updating as you turn it on. Stop it. I don't need it. but it does happen. So again, those are little power vampires. Yeah, they're not going to usually be a huge amount of your bill. But if you are on prepaid and you start to eliminate some of those, you might see a little change.
A difference. Yeah.
So, again, I'm not saying that there's not there. It all depends on some of those. Maybe you don't want a coffee machine with a clock on it. You don't have to have it, but if you do, it's going to, obviously, if you want your coffee made for you in the morning, you pay for that convenience.
Right. Yeah. And if you're on prepay, as some of these members that have switched for the purpose of making sure that they're more aware of the decisions they're making and how it affects their
People
usage.
leave their CPUs and monitors on 24/7. Don't know it. They might be sleeping, but that sleeping still has a little trickle charge to it.
It does.
To keep going. So again, just little things like this that you may not think of every single day, but they are there, and just always kind of keep that in mind. And those for people who might have well pumps, you have a light out there or a little heater out there.
Heater.
That's always going. Now this time of year, you may not need that heater.
You've got to remember to go turn it off,
Go
though.
turn it off. So there's a lot of little things out there. And of course, we haven't even gotten to this yet, but also this time of year, more people are now getting their pools ready with the lights that are going to be outside. They come on automatically with your dust, with your little sensitive eye, your little, photocell. You can have that happen. That also goes on. By the way, if you have a photocell that's hooked up, it's on 24/7. So if it gets dark and your lights come on, guess what? It's on all the time.
Yeah. Phantom
So if
load.
you have that, and you have that near your pool, or you have that near your deck that you want to have lights on out at night, again, those things are always using electric. But one of the things, too, that we don't normally bring up until about this time of year is a lot of people have fishing docks if they have a little water on their property that have an electric source there. Now, gang, I guarantee you, you probably say, well, we didn't have any flood this year. We didn't have any big rains. I don't need to worry about that. I hate to tell you, the ground and water shifts all the time. And even if you have it encased in PVC and you think everything is good, check it.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's no need to say, and somewhere in that ground, that water came up high enough and it moved that line. You can't tell. If that dock moved a little bit, that line usually doesn't move much. And when it does, it stretches and sometimes gets a crack in it. And that crack can be very deadly. We don't want that to happen.
We don't want that to happen to anybody. No.
No. So if you have a deck for your boat to do fishing, to have a light out there so you can't fish at night or whatever it might be, please get it checked. Doesn't mean that you can go plug a light into it now, it's working fine. It doesn't mean that there's not a little trickle going into that water.
Right.
So,
And if you're ever in the water, especially around areas where there's docks, if you're ever in the water and you start to feel a charge,
you'll feel it.
you'll feel it. Swim away from that. I think a lot of times the instinct is I got to get to the dock to get out of the water.
That's the worst place you could
That's
probably
where
go.
it's probably coming from.
Yeah. And if
so
it gets stronger as you move to back off.
back off, yeah, and have somebody get that power killed, turned off, or if there's a boat, that you can.
But even lights by your pool. Some people think,
makes it-
well, they're fine. Well, if you've got it attached to your pool, and there's a tear, and you've got a metal aluminum pool.
You've just got to be really careful. Water and electricity, we learn in grade school, they don't mix. And even as adults, I think we need to be reminded
We do.
they don't mix. So be careful. Have your electricity checked if you've got a dock or a deck or a pool or wherever there is electric and water. Make sure you're checking that. You're having it checked. Have an electrician come and check that and
Yeah.
make sure that it's safe.
It's a little bit of an investment into
It is.
electrician is
Yeah.
well worth your safety. Safety.
Yep.
I think you see so many signs that say safety first, and we all agree to that. And then when we go out on a daily basis, that's probably about the third or fourth most important thing
Right.
that we think about is safety.
Yeah.
But it should be still top notch.
Yeah.
Because all it takes is one mishap, and you could be paying
The ultimate price.
an ultimate price, but you could be paying for that for many, many, many years, where you get charged and you have a seizure or something of that nature, and you're never going to be the same again. So please, Just do what you have to do to make sure it's safe around your house. We talk about that all the time. Safety, safety, safety. We always talk about that, but in this case, especially with the water, utmost concern.
Absolutely.
And also those different types of locations. Hopefully, you have got that set up lately, so you have an interruption in there. Nice to have a plug that can actually shut that off in case it was short. But if you don't, I know years ago when our family had a light that was out in front of the house.
It wasn't
It was just straight into, actually went straight into the fuse box. I mean, this we're talking a long time ago. Fuse boxes. But both of the lights outside that we had on poles both went to the fuse box, and one of them had water in it. And I'll tell you what, that was a little iffy.
Yeah.
Because you go out to change that bulb. Yeah. And you don't even know there's water in the line.
Not until
And
you're
you go, you got to shut off, and you think, that's great, and you turn it back on. That bulb explodes in your face because it's got extra charge in it from that water. I'm telling you what, it gets your attention fast.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what happened to me when I went up there to change that bulb, because it was out. Didn't know why. And I can just honestly tell you, my dad had put that light into a flagstone brick,
Base?
6 feet tall,
Oh, wow.
with a light on top, and he put a copper rod in it to run the wire through. Well, that copper rod over 30 years was gone. The wire was gone virtually, and that charge, that whole flagstone thing was an electrical outlet.
Oh, my.
All you had to do is touch it. You could feel it.
That's not good, Steve.
So guess who got to dig it all up and had to take that thing apart and change that?
Yeah. So get an electrician to
Yeah.
come and inspect your stuff. Make sure if you've...
Yeah. I'm just trying to give people don't think about those things, and I never would have thought that.
Well, especially if it's older wiring. But if you're putting in something new, do it right the first time. Make sure you've got the GFCI outlets outside.
They didn't have those back
I know, but
then.
I'm saying if you're putting in something new now,
Right.
this is not a place to cut corners when it comes to electricity. So do it right. Have it done to where you're safe, your family's safe, guests around your home are safe. And if you do have older stuff,
Sure.
have it checked.
Yeah.
Hire an electrician
and
to
know
come in.
that those wires, and even though they are an outdoor wire, in this case, now concrete breathes and it holds moisture, which I'm sure most people should know that, but they may not.
Right.
But when it does and it breathes and holds moisture, that copper pipe over time turned green and just finally just eroded away.
Yeah.
And then it went to the line. Well, as that is expanding and contracting because of the moisture inside the flagstones, the wire stops expanding and contracting. It can't, and so it starts to pull, and that's where you get your problems. So again, guys, I'm not trying to scare anybody out there, by grabbing the flagstones, I wasn't electrocuted, but you could feel a tingle.
Yeah.
Because it was radiating through 6 feet and basically a 2.5 by 2.5 foot square block, and you could feel it. And I'm just thinking, this is crazy. When we talk about being in the water, you start to feel that, and there is a vibration to it. You'll feel it, and you'll start to feel a little wonky. Mm-hmm. Your hair start to kind of stand on end and stuff.
Yeah.
No, it's just, but the hairs on the back of your neck will give you away. It's an old wives' tale, but it seems that when there is electric around there, you can feel it in the back of your neck more than you feel it anywhere else. I don't know why. I've read that in Farmer's Almanac before, and they said that's when you know that there's a lot of electric in the air with lightning and things of that nature. Get out of there.
Yeah. Yeah. Just be conscious of it. Have the wiring checked before your family starts enjoying the water, and keep an eye on. I mean, maybe like you said, you've got the pool. That doesn't have anything to do with did it freeze in the dock shift. Just make sure you're aware of where your electric sources are at, and make sure your kids know that you can't plug in the radio and grab
your
it.
wire.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
I mean, it can happen.
Just like you said, we say safety first. We've got to make sure that we're actually
practicing
it. Yeah.
All right. Well, we've been talking about everything I want to talk about. You got anything to add? It's been an hour.
It has been an hour. So I'll just end. I'll try to make it as positive as I can. I'll just end with a reminder: do not fall for phone scams. Or any type of scams, but we've had a few calls this past month, and I think as we get closer to annual meeting and we're communicating stuff and we're talking about electric credits and prizes, that these scammers, unfortunately, they grab onto stuff like that and they start to try to scam you out of your money. So please, please be leery if you get a call from any organization. I mean, I think it's fair to say that Intercounty is not the only one being targeted. They could claim to be with a bank or the IRS or a ticket collection company or whatever it might be. If someone asks you for bank account or credit or debit card information, once you give that out, you cannot take it back from them. Be leery. If it's Intercounty, I will absolutely tell you, hang up, call us back directly. If it's another business, I think it would be fair to say you could politely tell them, hey, I'm going to call you back. I'll call you right back. You don't even have to tell them anything other than that. Hang up, call them back at a number you know is theirs, not a number. Oh, this is Heather with Intercounty, and here's my direct line. You can call me back and make that payment. Don't use numbers they give you. Call that business back at a number that you know is theirs, and just confirm before you give that out, because a lot of places don't take that over the phone anymore.
And you know, because you're listening to this program right now, if somebody said, "Hey, I'm Heather with Intercounty. You need to send this money to me at my private number," we just gave you the number that you can go charge it at. You can pay it on that charge line, and you'll say, "No, I'd rather use the charge line to pay that.
Right.
I'll do that because I know that's secure, and I know Intercounty doesn't take it personally." Bang!
Yeah. And if you have Smart Hub, you can really quickly open your app and
While you're talking
to them, like, because they have a lot of tactics and they want to try to confuse you and get you to give information. But if they're claiming that your bill's not paid, you can really easily, did I not pay it? Maybe I did forget to pay it.
Maybe if you mailed it.
Maybe if you mailed it, you don't know if it's come in. So you can open that app. You can see if your bill's been paid or not. That gives you the reassurance to not share that information. But please just call Intercounty. And we've had a few where they're claiming to be with the co-op and they're offering deals.
Prepaid.
Buy
it ahead of time.
At discounted rates.
Yeah.
And
I was just going to add that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a different tactic. And if that were ever the case, if we ever had anything like that, which to date we have not, we always offer the lowest price to our members. We're not ever going to charge one group of people more than another group of people.
Well, how could you offer it to somebody ahead of somebody else?
Right. But let's say you thought, well, maybe Intercounty really did do that. If you hang up and call us back, we're not going to say, nope, that was your one chance. You had to do it over the phone right then. That's not. And
don't call the number back that they give you.
Right. Call us back. Let us know. Maybe you think, man, if this is really a deal Intercounty has, I don't want to miss out. Call us back. Let us know what the caller said. If it's something we do have available, it'll still be available if you call back in.
Sure.
But please, just as summer approaches or any time of year, not even just as summer approaches.
So I heard a new scam the other day.
Oh, no.
That coming off all the new changes that are being made with the tariffs and everything else, is that right now you can buy these things pre-tariff.
Oh.
You can buy electric pre-tariff, and it's going to cost money because we're going to be importing electric. Now, why would we be importing
It doesn't
electric?
work that way.
Anyway, but I've already heard about these different beat the tariff buys.
Yeah.
And don't be taken in by all that
No,
stuff.
just guard your financial information. Be leery to give that out. If you didn't initiate the call and they're asking for financial information,
so you don't have
I
any.
say hang up. Hang up. Call the place back.
Yeah. And that includes your Social Security Administration. People are trying to spoof them as well and asking for, well, your Social Security number's been compromised. We need you to verify it on the phone. No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No.
People are.
They want to take your money.
Yeah.
And if they get your Social Security number, they can apply and take your money.
It's a lot easier, yeah.
Yes, so don't give it to them, please.
Yep.
Of course, they have to have some other information, but if you give it to them,
That's one step closer they are. Yeah.
you know, and it's unfortunate. I think I was reading somewhere that of all the scams that have gone on, that where people lose their identity, most of the time those people have voluntarily given their stuff over the phone
Yeah.
to a scam artist, and then,
Right.
then it has just exploded.
Yeah. And they're not, I mean, years ago when this first started happening, our members could easily identify a scam. The caller was rude, sometimes difficult to understand. They maybe didn't know the full name of the electric co-op. Our members knew this does not sound like my electric co-op. They're not going to be threatening me. They're not going to be forcing me to pay over the phone. They're not going to be rude. And they've evolved, and that's not how they are anymore. They are you said scam artists, and that's exactly right.
gosh, yeah.
They are crafty,
They are
and
artists.
and their messages have changed, and their tone has changed, and they're perfecting their craft, and it has to be working at least some of the time because they keep doing it. So please do not fall victim to any of those scams.
No, I agree.
Okay. Congratulations to all the graduates.
I agree.
Upcoming early congratulations to the ones that haven't graduated yet but are
Getting ready to.
getting ready to. That's exciting time of life. Big changes. So congratulations to all of those. High school, college, whatever it might be. If you're graduating, kudos to you for putting in the work, getting through it.
So, by the way, for the annual meeting, have the crafters all been filled up now?
You know, I'm not sure if all the spaces are
usually you
filled
have
or if they
that
have a
data
waiting list.
when you come
Yeah,
in,
I'll
yeah.
have to ask Vanessa. I know that deadline was May 1st,
I
but
know.
I don't know if
I
she's
think
got
last year we were short a couple. And,
We were, yeah. So
and,
I don't
A
know.
couple people backed out or something, and you
Yeah.
can get on a list, by the way.
Oh, yeah,
if there
absolutely.
is abundance this year, where if somebody can't make it, it could be a family thing, could be a, some other conflict that they have.
Right.
That you can still get in.
Yeah.
So you might want to call and talk
Absolutely.
to Vanessa directly, and you can do that. That number again is.
866-621-3679.
That's why I like having her here. She knows all about
I know the phone number. That's
knows
why
the
you
phone
like
number.
having me here. Thanks,
Very good,
Dan.
very good. We always appreciate Heather coming by, or any representative of Inter County, and we try and keep you up to date on different things going on. And of course, today is just kind of a basic information day, but we try and pass on the latest and the greatest information. Somebody told me there might be some tree trimming going on this summer through Inter County. I haven't heard anything and haven't received anything.
Okay.
Have you heard anything on?
I'll tell you what, next
that?
month I'll bring our tree trimming schedule. That's something they've been working on to be able to notify people sooner that they're going to be in their area.
It's just to let them know they're coming through.
Yeah, but it's nice to know
Yeah,
if
'cause
somebody's
you see somebody come and cut your trees that you don't know about.
Yeah, but I'll bring that with me.
That'd be great.
Next month.
All right,
Yep.
very good. Again, we appreciate Heather coming by and got through the fog and everything this morning. Hopefully
Yeah.
by now it's all burnt off and you won't have any problem getting back. And again, we always appreciate our friends from Inter County coming by and keeping you up to date on different things going on at Inter County Electric. Remember, owned and operated Touchstone Energy Cooperative. Heather, as always, thanks for coming
Yeah,
in.
thank you.
Keep it here, KSMO. We have coming your way very short.